Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 274. And this is a show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. I go least favorite to best pick of the week. And also, I have a fresh new title for the series as well. So, aka Comic Uno's best comics of the week. So let's get started. This week was 16 comics, more than last week, which was only 9 comics. So happy to kind of have more of an average number of titles here. So number 16 for me this week was Outcast issue 38. Just a very slow series. And I always say, when the series is good, it's really good. But when it's bad, it's not very good. It's bad. It's slow. It's very slow, this series, and I feel like it spreads itself too thin, especially now we're actually heading towards the end of this series, and I still feel like there's so much more to say, and I don't really understand what the main theme of this book is, and I always, you know, after issue by issue, I'm like, oh, we're finally kind of gonna find out what this series is about, and you never really do. There's a little bit too much mystery in the air, and I feel like they focus a lot on the villains, and I don't quite care about their characters as much as I do our main character and his family. And even his relationship with the priest doesn't interest me as much. And these are kind of things that are focused more on in this issue. And really only got a page or two with him and his family and his sister. So for me, this issue was 2.5 stars. It's obviously not a bad series. I honestly do look forward to it every month. But as we get towards the end, I hope we get some satisfaction and, again, maybe some more answers for this series. But one of the best parts of this book is the artwork. I love how haunting it is. I just love the colors, also, I love the close-up frames here. That's something I've really enjoyed about this series that brings a unique style to Outcast. So, again, I'm going to give that one 2.5 stars, and that is number 16. Moving on to number 15, which is a last issue, and that is Regression issue 15. I honestly lost, I guess, interest in this series after probably the first arc, and I was really disappointed with the ending, where we get to see, one thing I really enjoyed was Molly and Adrian's relationship, and it looks like Molly betrays Adrian in the end. I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. I definitely understood the themes they were trying to go for in this issue, that you don't always have to be connected to your past lives. You can always kind of recreate yourself and re-theme yourself. But I wasn't a huge fan of that ending, and I guess the ending of, like, did that happen or not happen? One thing I do like about this book, though, same thing for Outcast, is the artwork. I think is really beautiful, really crisp, and I like when you get to those horror elements with the bugs and everything, so I enjoyed that, but wasn't very satisfied with this ending, so I'm going to give that one 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 14, which is Sideways, issue 12, which is a penultimate issue. I feel like a lot of comics are ending. So Sideways, issue 12, this is very over-explainy. Pretty much the stuff that happened between Paris and where he is now, what happened, and they explain it, but the way it was executed, it was voiceover, and that kind of bored me, and it was very wordy, and I didn't really like that. But the stuff I did enjoy was definitely the ending with Derek and his father, where his father kind of apologizes for saying, I hate you, and then introduces his birth mom, Derek's birth mom. So where is that gonna go? But also, like, we have 1 issue left. Where the hell is that gonna go? Why introduce that now? So I was a bit torn with this one. Again, it was kind of a longer read for me, and it didn't really get interesting until those last few pages. So I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars, and that is number 15? That was number 14. Moving on to number 13, which is The Immortal Hulk, issue 12. A series I know a lot of people have been enjoying. I do feel like it's a bit slow for me, but I do love the tone of this book, which is this horror monster story, and you get more of that, and his Bruce's relationship with his father, and the connections to hell and the devil. So for me, it was a 3-star book. I enjoy the artwork, I think, more than anything, and that hauntingness, but I do want some plot progression, and that's something that has brought the series down for me. So, like I said, I'm going to give that one 3 stars. Moving on to number 12, as I get a sip of water. Number 12 is Batman issue 63. And Batman issue 63 continues this this dream sequence thing going on with Batman that I have not been really enjoying. That every issue's been a dream and an interpretation. So I have not been enjoying that, like I said. And with this one, it kind of reminds me of what I missed with Batman, but I don't think it was executed correctly, and that is Catwoman and Batman. Pretty much they make out every panel, and Batman misses Catwoman, and yeah, he's having this dream, seeing Constantine, and kind of seeing what happens with this family, which is that they keep getting hurt. So he's kind of like, maybe it was a good thing that Catwoman left, that I don't deserve her. So it's really angsty, and I feel like, and this is what I said about the Professor Pig issue as well, if this was an issue after 10 issues of plot progression, this would be awesome. I'd be like, oh cool, dream sequence. But just because the plot has not moved since Dick Grayson got shot in the head, I don't need another issue like this. So it's in the middle for me. It's a 3-star book. The artwork is gorgeous. You know, you get some nice scenes with Catwoman and Batman. I really like the scene with the clock and how Batman's like, hey, I'm never going to change the clock, and, you know, it's retro, and I won't have, like, a scanner or anything, because that's the time my parents died. And Catwoman's like, why would you do that? And then Batman's like, well, we dress up as animals. Why do we do that? And Catwoman doesn't have an answer for him. He's like, all right, let's do the clock thing. So I like that. So there's scenes I enjoyed between the two, and, you know, why I missed these two characters in this book, but again, just not really liking the structure of the series lately, and I just want plot progression, and we have not had any in a long time. So giving this one 3 stars. Artwork's really crisp though. Do like the artwork for the series. Moving on to number 11, which is Teen Titans issue 26. This is a series I just recently started picking up again. I dropped the series early on, haven't been liking a Teen Titans series in a really long time, but my friends over at Frontline have been really enjoying Teen Titans, so issue 25 in the annual, I believe, was the jumping on point, so I'm like, alright, let me try this out, and it's not bad. It's not whoa, wow factor for me, but with this issue we get to see Damian break into the Batcave and pretty much use his team as a distraction as he learns more about Jason Todd and what's been going on with him. Guessing you probably would get more of that if you've been reading Teen Titans, but the annual is going to be a Jason Todd versus Damian issue, so that should be interesting. But I did like the Alfred and Damian scenes where Alfred's like, I protect my family. I'll protect Jason as much as I would protect you, and right now I'm protecting Jason. So I like that. The Teen Titans stuff was okay. Obviously you didn't get to see that much interaction. The artwork is a bit blocky and definitely heavily inked, so I didn't love that, but it's an okay issue for me. Maybe I would have gotten more from it if I'd been following this series from issue 1, but for me, I'd give this one 3 stars. Alright, moving on to number 10, which is Blossom 666, issue 1. And this is Cheryl and Jason being demonic people and doing evil stuff, having this party and trying to convince their classmates to kill people. So that's the issue. It's fun, you know. I don't know if it's something where I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for issue 2, but it's a unique twist on Archie, and that's kind of what I like about these miniseries slash horror books, is the twist we have on characters we know. So overall, I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. I also think that Braga's artwork has improved every series she works on, and I do like the coloring a lot. Reminds me like Vampironica's coloring, so enjoy the artwork and kind of like the model-like versions of these characters. So I'm going to give that one 3.5 stars. Probably will get issue 2, but don't know how long this one will last my pull list compared to stuff like Vampironica and Jughead the Hunger, which I really enjoyed from issue 1. Alright, moving on to number 2, which is Long Lost Part 2, issue 6. This is the last issue of Long Lost. Thought the last issue was the last issue, but this is the actual last issue. Very quick read. There's not a whole lot of dialogue, but I did like how our one of the sisters became the other sister in a way, because she loses her sister, and we get to see her go through this kind of depression, and she even has Patches with her, looks like, or some dog with her, and by the end, she does reunite with her sister a little bit too quickly for me. Kind of wish, and maybe it was like a daydream, I don't know. I kind of wish there was a sign if it was a daydream, or, you know, maybe there was more leading up to what the other sister was doing. But overall, I did like the somberness of the series. I love the artwork, especially this coloring here. Usually it's just that grayscale type of artwork, but I really liked when it was colored. But this is the other artwork, really unique, which I've been enjoying about the series. So Long Lost issue 6 for me gets 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 8, which is Guardians of the Galaxy issue 1. I did an in-depth review for it, so I won't talk too much about it. You can go check out that review if you want more, but I like the series, but I will say it's a good plot progression. You know, they definitely introduced some interesting stuff with Thanos, that there's another vehicle that will have Thanos' entity in him, and they have to search who that is. And I will say the team of the Guardians is created very quickly, but it's an interesting setup for the series. But is it really for me? Probably not. I'm probably not going to get the next issue just because I'm not a huge cosmic fan. I think this is more for people who follow Thanos, who's been following Donny Cates' cosmic stuff, are going to love this. It was awesome for them. But for someone who's not as much into that, probably won't get issue 2. There wasn't as much character work as I would have liked with the Guardians title. So I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars, and that is number, let's see, that was number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Exorcisters, issue 4. I have fun with this series. I will say, I want to see what direction it's kind of going. It feels very one-shotty to me, kind of procedural-like. But I like the humor, and I like the seriousness of the title as well. I think there's a good mix of that, where we get to see this guy thinks that he gave his soul to the devil, finds out he gave his, well, he doesn't find out, but we find out he gave his soul to Gabriel, the angel, so that was interesting. And then we get to see some manipulations here and there, but it's just a fun issue to see the sisters interact with each other and having to deal with that. So good comedy, good artwork. It's just a fun series if you have room on your pull list and kind of like these type of stories. So I'm going to give that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Buffy the Vampire Slayer issue 1, which I also did an in-depth review for, so won't go too deeply into it. But I really feel like Jordie has the voice of Buffy, which is really important. I will say it's a little jarring if you're a hardcore Buffy fan. They do change continuity. It's very much for the new reader, but I also felt like it wasn't, because they gave you a lot of stuff, and I feel like you would only know that stuff if you're a Buffy fan. So I wonder how new readers kind of took it, because it's a lot of information. But like I said, I enjoy the voices of the characters a lot, especially Buffy, and I'm excited to see where it ends up going. I like that we're seeing characters that weren't necessarily in the high school years, or at least in the beginning, and seeing how that changes stuff. So definitely has a lot of promise, this series, even if I would say the narrative was very jumpy. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of stuff they're trying to squeeze into this first issue. I also want to really congratulate Dan Moore's artwork here. It's just so gorgeous. He really knows how to do write high school, or draw high school characters, and really like the fashion he brings. And then also just some of the motions is really kinetic, and I really felt like I was watching Sarah Michelle Gellar but through a comic book, so that was really cool to see as well. So I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is The Avant-Gardes issue 1, a book I was really anticipating and thought was pretty solid. I actually didn't know the liberal arts college portion of this. I thought it was just going to be like people on a basketball team, but it's actually this girl who goes to this arts college, and, you know, there's no sports, but it seemed like she was on a basketball team, something happened, and she doesn't want to be in sports anymore. But there is this basketball club that she ends up being convinced to join, and kind of finding herself with that. The artwork's a little blocky for me, and the reason I picked this up is because I'm a huge fan of Fight Club, and Heavy Vinyl. It was originally called Hi-Fi Fight Club, and then turned into Heavy Vinyl. And I was a really big fan of that, and the artwork was a little bit more realistic, and here this is a bit more blockier and cartoonier, so I wasn't as much used to that, but I think it will work for the series as it goes on, because I do think it's a more, I don't want to say cartoonier series, but I think that the Hi-Fi Fight Club kind of focused more on relationships, and this kind of has more humor to it. So, but I'm sure they'll focus on relationships as well, because this is about a team of students who play basketball. So hopefully as the series goes on, we kind of learn more about that dynamic. But yeah, overall, like I said, it's a very solid issue for me, and I think there's a lot of funness to it. And also, someone who went to a liberal arts college, definitely relatable that that obviously there's all these art things going on, and sports was not really a thing. And when you do see a sport-related thing, you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And that's why there is this kind of mystery of like, how did this girl end up in this school? So I am interested to see that, and I do like our main character. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Shazam, issue 2. Love this cover. This is Chris Samney, I believe, who did the cover. And this is a really solid issue. I've been really enjoying this series. Probably going to be one of my favorite DC comics currently going on. Right now it is with issue 2. And I love the artwork. It's just so good and so imaginative, which is what you need with an issue like this, where they explore all these different realms, and the kids end up deciding to go to this, like, candy realm, and, you know, they're happy. They're like, we've never been to Disneyland or Disney World. This is amazing. This is every kid's dream, and obviously that's probably not going to go very well, and you get to see all the different personalities of the kids kind of, interact with this Disneyland type world, and again, it's probably not going to be a good thing by the end. So how are they going to end up dealing with that? So it was fun. I did like issue 1 a little bit more. I think we got a little bit more of the hero aspect, but if you like the kid aspect and kind of bringing back that childhood wonder, this is the issue for you, and hopefully you can read with your kids as well. So for me, it was a really solid issue. I still really love the interaction of these characters, and like I said, right now one of my favorite DC titles. So I'm gonna give this one 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3. Another Boom title, which is Smooth Criminals, issue 3. I've been really enjoying this series, and it's because of these misfit loners that end up becoming friends and thieves. So we have one character who's a thief from the 1960s, and our main character who is just a regular computer genius from the 90s. So you get to see the 90s language with the 60s character, and somehow they quickly are becoming friends as they're trying to do this heist. And then we do learn a little bit more about our 1960s character, which is fun. There's an interesting cliffhanger with that. And there's some good action. There's some good laughs in this one. Just a really good balance. And I do like that it's kind of a lighter story as well. So I enjoyed it. I really like their chemistry a lot. And it's a solid series. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 3. And that was also issue 3. Moving on to number 2, which is the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 2, which I thought was a really solid issue with some good laughs. And what I really liked about this issue is that Tom Taylor really gets Spider-Man's voice, and you really get the humor in this issue as well, where we get to see Spider-Man meet this new detective, and she gives the card to Spider-Man, truly trusts him, which was cool and different, because usually when Spider-Man's interacting with other people and cops and law enforcement, they're like, you're a menace. So it's kind of cool to get something different, and he gets the card, and he puts it in his pants. It's like, why are you doing that? He's like, I don't have pockets. And I kind of like that call out, because yeah, most superheroes don't have pockets. So like those little moments I really laughed at. And then we had the kids knowing Johnny Storm and not knowing Spider-Man, so that was a fun scene as well. And then I like the ending where we get to see that Spider-Man's neighbor might be this superhero that we've never heard of. So you're really getting this friendly neighborhood aspect of the series, that we're really getting to see these grounded type characters that we've never heard of. So that's fun. I feel like the artwork is very solid as well, especially when Spider-Man is just Spider-Man. I do think there could be more detail with Peter as a character and like more of the facial expressions, but I really like this series, and I thought this was a really solid follow-up to that first issue. I do wish we got answers about Aunt May, but it looks like from the solicits we'll probably get that in March, but that's kind of still my negative of this series, is like, oh my god, I like that secondary story even more, but it doesn't mean that this is not a fun series. And I guess another negative would be those, if you're really looking for like plotness, this is more of just like a fun Spider-Man series. I think Amazing Spider-Man is more about that, and maybe people can't fit this type of title on their pull list. But overall, like I said, I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, a book I wasn't going to read and wasn't going to originally pick up, but was pleasantly surprised, and that is Naomi, issue 1. Got this physically as well, was originally just going to read it digitally, but I really liked this book. The artwork is phenomenal, so crisp, and it kind of feels like you're watching a cartoon in a way, which is really well animated. Just some really great coloring. I love the artwork here, and I really like Naomi as a character, because what the story is about is that we get to see Superman comes to this small town, everyone's excited, and they're like, oh my god, it's Superman, and then Naomi keeps missing it. And, you know, one thing I also really liked about this, too, is that we get to see her supporting characters really quickly. Friends from her school, there's a big group, but she kind of has more of a smaller group from that big group. And then you have her boss that she works with, her therapist, so we get to see her world a bit. And then we find out that she's getting a little curious of maybe this happened before. This kind of event has happened in the town and no one remembers, and she's wondering why. And she finds out by the end of the issue it has to do with her adoption. So, and an interesting aspect is that her therapist says that she has a Superman complex because she relates to him because they're both adopted. And I thought that was a really cool thing. That was a really cool moment because, you know, we've gotten so many stories with Superman. How do you tell a story about Superman differently? And through the eyes of Naomi is the way you tell a Superman story differently, and you kind of have this idea of the Superman complex, how the world views Superman, how maybe a person could view Superman. So I really like that aspect, and I really like this story, and like I said, I was pleasantly surprised, and I hope that Bendis could kind of keep the momentum with issues to come, but I think it does work that he does have a co-writer on this book as well to kind of maybe steer the ship and have good plot progression with every issue as we learn more about this character. So Naomi issue 1 is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Go check out my Facebook page, my Twitter. Links for that are in the description below. Also go check out my comic books like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her the Dancer. And go check out Frontline Live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk about our top 5 comics and comic book news. So definitely be sure to check that out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please let me know your favorite comics of the week, and I'll see you next week. Bye!